But first, before we even get into the record, kind of want to bring you guys up to speed as to where I'm at and how I'm working now. You know, we've all kind of experienced the pandemic and quarantine and COVID and this whole new era. So for me, it was a couple of different things have kind of changed in the way I work. You know, in the beginning, when the quarantine first started, I had to adjust really quickly because I was used to, you know, mixing in the studio. I had my setup. I mix in the box, but I had my setup and I had, you know, everything laid out in the studio. You know, shifting over to mixing from home was a big adjustment. I had to kind of figure out, okay, well, I didn't have a room in the house yet prepped. This room that I'm in right now wasn't ready yet. I didn't have, you know, sound stuff up or audio stuff. So I figured, okay, we always check our mixes in the car, and I have a pretty big truck. I have a Cadillac Escalade. So I figured, why not try to set my speakers up in the truck and mix in the truck? Because A, I can get loud in the truck. It doesn't disturb the household. Because you got to remember, my kids, you know, I got 2 daughters. One is 9, one is 12, and they're going to school from home during the quarantine. So they're like online doing courses. My wife's working in her office upstairs. So trying not to make a whole lot of noise in the house while the kids are in school was a big deal. So I was like, let me go in the truck, set up the speakers in the truck. My Focal speakers were set up in the truck. And I just went ahead and hooked up my laptop, had the Apollo, and I had a nice little setup in there, had a little table that I can kind of work on. And it actually worked out. It actually worked really well. I actually mixed some hit records in the truck. First couple records in the quarantine I mixed. Cardi B's WAP.
Now from the top, make it drop. That's some wet and cushy. Now get a bucket and a mop. That's some wet and cushy.
I mixed that in my truck. Jack Harlow's What's Poppin' in the truck.
I keep it thorough. I got 5 chicks in New York, that means 1 in each borough. I'm in the pocket like Burrow. When I'm back home, no, they treat me like Robert De Niro.
And this record, the Rita Ora record that we're going to get into today, I mixed this record in the truck. It actually taught me a lot. It taught me a lot about having to adjust for your, you know, mixing environment and trying new things and pushing new envelopes. So it was actually kind of fun. It was fun to kind of be in there working. I had my own little space. It was like my little office. Nobody was bothering me. It was actually cool. Then I had to kind of evolve. Then I had to kind of get to a point where once the girls started, even during the height of, you know, the pandemic was still going on, but the quarantines were lifted and the girls were going back to school, I had to kind of take the setup out of the truck because I needed the truck to carry the girls to school, pick them up. So I had to kind of figure out, okay, I really got to get a room going in the house that I can work in. And it worked out because the timing of them going back to school meant I can make a little noise in the house while they're in school all day. So came in this room, came in my, you know, this little office, and I had to figure some things out, worked out the space and started mixing in here and figuring out my flow. The biggest difference mixing at home or in my truck or wherever than mixing in a studio is you have to work out a lot of kinks when you're in an environment where it wasn't originally built for this purpose. So you have to work out some kinks. You got to figure out what's bouncing around, what walls are super thin. You got to account for the windows. You got to account for, you know, good thing is I decided to do my room on the ground floor, which the house is on a concrete slab. So that's always helpful to have a sturdy floor instead of trying to do it on the second level. And it's, you know, it was just about adjusting to the space. And, you know, you do have 4 parallel walls or, you know, perpendicular walls. So you got to kind of account for sound bouncing off. The more stuff in the room, the better. The more things can help diffuse the sound. You know, adjusting for other things too. There are other aspects of the pandemic and the quarantine that kind of changed things too, which is ironically, guys like myself, mixers, I can tell you probably a lot of mixers will have the same story. I actually got a lot of work in the beginning of the quarantine because here's the thing. All the artists were at home. They couldn't go anywhere. They couldn't do anything. So all they could do was record. So all of a sudden, I got Cardi B finishing records in like record time. And then I got other artists finishing records and sending me a bunch of records. So everybody had material ready to be mixed.